All right. Welcome to this very special episode of Fargonauts. Discover new AI things.
Oh,
And this is a one that just struck my bow really early this morning, and I was like, "Oh, okay, that's something that I should save to talk to my guys." So,
Yeah,
I have my guys here. I got my broichy guys.
the righteous.
Broichi Isle, full.
Um, and this is something new, like I said, new AI, a new concept. The AI is called Showrunner AI, built by an AI company called Fable, and they created an algorithm called the simulation. And
Mm.
I'm just going to get you guys' first reactions, I guess, to this. I know
Yeah.
there's talk in the news now with the writer's strike and the SAG-AFTRA, um, Writers Guild, all that stuff, that AI is taking over um, writers' jobs and things like that, which
Hmm.
I think studios want to try, but maybe this can dissuade
Oh,
people from actually uh, watching content or watching things made by AI.
hmm
I mean, we get a kick out of it because we know what computers are capable of and what
yeah.
prompts you give and
We
things
just
like that.
playing.
We just plan. We don't want to have this take over people's income and jobs and
No.
things like that. But using it
Yeah.
as a tool to help you through something, like to make your emails sound better, And I mean,
Hmm.
emails already do that with like spell check and better punctuation recommendations. And
Right.
like if you just hit tab, it can like auto generate things to make it sound better. That's already using
Right.
AI. And even editing software that I use, like Premiere, Photoshop, Illustrator, those are all built on AI tools to help you, easily complete a task or a project. Everything is kind of it. It all has an AI component to it. So you're using
Right.
it in a way, but creating something new from it. And if you just solely are having AI write you something and not putting any of your own flair or voice to it, I say that is cheating the system and not worthy of even venturing into, right?
No.
So, we're going to be watching an episode of South Park,
Yeah.
completely done in AI. You can kind of see the interface,
Hmm.
and he's coming up with a hero, Mr. Andreessen, and the cast,
Yeah.
clicking on stuff, and then just picking a place and then giving it a prompt, right? And this is one of them they've done, but you can. There's a video I can show you after this that shows what this simulation actually does. It's not just South Park. It's like they all have different interfaces.
The Queepy Quandary.
Guys, have you heard about the Screen Actors Guild strike? Yeah, it's all over the news. That sucks. Does that mean there won't be any new shows coming out? Exactly, Stan. And that's where my business idea comes in. I'm glad you asked, Kenny. It's called Queepy, a deepfake streaming service. Wait, what? Deepfake? Cartman, that's illegal and unethical. No, it's genius. We take existing shows and movies and just replace the actors with deepfake versions of other famous people. Like imagine Game of Thrones, but with Danny DeVito as Daenerys. Ridiculous, Cartman. Is it ridiculous? Or is it so ridiculous that it just might work? No, it's definitely just ridiculous. Well then, I guess you guys won't want a cut of the profits when Queepy takes off. More for me then. There won't be any profits, Cartman. You're going to get sued. Not if they can't prove it. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have a deep fake streaming empire to build.
Okay, so we just watched
Wow,
the AI generated fake South Park episode. What was it called again? Queepy?
The Queepy Quandary.
A Queepy
Yeah.
Quandary.
Creepy quandary.
Yeah, Queepy Quandary.
That was a lot longer than I thought it was going to be.
Right.
Yeah, there's a lot more that we can be reacting to. There's a whole
So, like,
let's see, hour and 20 minutes of this stuff.
Oh gosh.
Jesus.
TV shows while I
So,
enjoy a thrilling new season of
obviously, like, the script and the voice acting, that's AI generated. Is the imagery AI generated too?
Some of it is, yeah. Like some of
I
the
think-
settings were, and I can show you some of this inside baseball sort of things. If you're still watching my stream, can you see this?
Yep.
Okay, so this is show one and showrunner. This is just how it's broken down to me. It's just stills from a South Park episode. An algorithm finds generic places like school hallways and things like that, and then
Right.
the animation's really crude anyway, so it's easy to replicate that in an AI. And here's some of the transformer things. I don't know what a lot of it, multi-headed and whatever. I don't know a whole lot what this is.
Prenus.
But here's some of the diffusion model that they did with some of the South Park things. So it's like they make their own backgrounds and sets and things like that. So
The spokesman for Disney to me was like very AI generated with his like really specific and unique facial hair.
yeah, and even Harrison Ford and Tom Cruise's jacket, like
Yeah, that's probably why
Very
he was
AI.
so like chubby. Like they probably just tried to make him like, yeah, maybe realistically like proportioned as far as height, but then it stretched him weirdly.
Right.
So this is, I don't know if this is open, like an open beta kind of thing. I think it's just like an example of their interface for doing those prompts for South Park.
Right.
There's something else. It was like a breakdown of what Showrunner is. Maybe it was at the beginning. Yeah, okay, we could just watch this.
Is a metaverse world for AIs. It's never been done before.
People's interaction at this point over the last 10 years has really been chatbots. And, you know, they're talking to their TV, they're talking to their phone, they're talking to their Alexa or whatever.
One of the things that really impressed us was how machine learning was able to contribute to a character that could behave in a really believable and interesting and unique way.
Westworld's a great model for environment where AI and people meet on a deeper level than just talking to a chatbot. You're going on adventures, you're part of the story. So simulating the whole state space, simulating the world, is a key part of this. We're basically making Westworld, but with the good parts and not the bad parts.
A simulation is a container for these characters to exist. At any moment, you can see what a character is doing. And not only what a character is doing, but what the characters close to them are doing as well. You can look down on a house and you can see people's lives unfolding within each room. So you can see a family that has, you know, a brother, a sister, a mom, a dad, maybe a grandchild. How are they all going throughout their business at 3 p.m. on a Tuesday?
At Fable, we've shifted all of our resources away from the camera, video chatting, chatbot, all of that stuff, into the simulation. We need people to actually train the characters to say, no, that's not what you should have said, to help the AIs get smarter and to feel passionately connected to these characters, to be willing to train them. And we've designed it as a video game, so that it's actually fun to make AI smarter. The ultimate goal of this is AGI, artificial general intelligence. Fable wants to build an economy where creators can be compensated for the work that they're doing, helping build out these AI characters, these virtual beings. And then we're all incentivized to help in this massive collaborative effort. It's our belief that a community playing a video game will get to AGI a hell of a lot faster than a corporation.
And I think that's the promise that we hope to fulfill in the future with the concept of virtual AI.
Okay, so that's kind of the rundown of that, which is like kind of an interesting way to make machine learning learn new things. It's just people jumping in and playing a game, right?
Right.
You're kind of playing them how you want the story to play out, so they learn that story from each interaction with whoever plays it. It's very much like a Westworld, because everybody's on their own path and things like that. Man, there's so many of these.
That show was done for good. How'd they manage to pull that off? Get this. Disney is using AI to make the entire 5th season. Haha, that's right. Artificial intelligence, baby. What? That sounds like a terrible idea. How would AI even make a good story for Westland Chronicles? Oh, I'm sorry, Kyle. I didn't realize you were an expert in AI technology. How about you let the super smart machines do their job and we just enjoy the freaking show?
Hey, I'm with Cartman on this one. In some respects, yeah, I'd like to see the AI technology grow, as far as like using it as a tool to help create things. Because I don't know if you guys remember watching that documentary, like 5 Days to Air or something like that they did for South Park. Super interesting documentary about like them coming up with an idea and then people like having the characters and everything like put on their computer, like ready to animate the story and whatever else. And just what it takes to put that together for a show to be on a deadline like that, and just having AI be able to help in some respects, like fine tune things if you need it, or plug and play something that, you know, you missed in the final cut or something.
Right.
Could help you do that just to meet deadlines and things like that. And South Park is like the only one I would say that works for, because everything else is very meticulously, you know, structured, where they have effects and things like that. Like a lot of animes have, I don't know what anime studios do nowadays for their storyboards and things like that, and how that's all done. But South Park seems like a good candidate for that stuff, because it is very crude. It's very janky anyway, so it comes off kind of natural. I don't know. What do you guys think about the episode, though?
Interesting. I mean, it was partially impressive, right? But also, like, you can clearly tell the AI of it all.
Right. Like,
yeah,
Cartman's motivations were very on point, I would say.
Oh yeah.
It all felt very like because it was like 10 minutes just on one prompt. Is that right?
I think so.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So it really seemed like, because we've seen enough AI generated prompts where you give it one idea and it kind of tries to give like commentary maybe on more than just one side of it. We're like everybody is Cartman has his own motivations, and he's having these things to say about AI and deepfakes and these things, and Kyle has a different moral stance, but they're all kind of saying just the same things over and over.
Yeah, there was a lot of jargon, a lot of like moral jargon that didn't seem very human. It seemed very like written out in like a dissertation or some kind of like document on Wikipedia, you know?
Yeah,
they're just reciting something like that.
Obviously, like a lot of things, there's no, you know, it's since it's focused on the one thing, there's no like B plot or anything, and there's no, you know, no real exploration of the other characters at all. It's mainly Cartman, and like things that like, standard kind of TV show stuff where there's, some focus spread, there's some, a couple different storylines happening.
One use that I could see this kind of AI being utilized in is like educational purposes, maybe.
Oh, that's
Right.
interesting.
Instead of having a prompt where it's like a creative type prompt where you're like, oh, Eric Cartman has this plot about using deepfake technology to create a new streaming service. You're like, tell me a speech or write a speech or tell me a story, like explain to me the history of the Panama Canal or something like that. And because it's based on like this learning technology, it clearly knows general information, and if you just keep it within that range and don't tell it to make things up, that could be useful.
I can see that being a cool tool also, where like they were talking about, deep fake is very much an issue now because they're bringing back dead actors to be in movies, right? Like Paul Walker and Carrie Fisher and Peter Cushing and a lot of actors. But the moral implications where you get into like, okay, once you're dead and a studio has your likeness and you sell that as like an actor, like you can sell your body to science, right? So once you die, you give it up to help people learn something. Mm-hmm. So if this is something where it's like creators of a certain IP, like let's just say in my instance, like my kids are really into Bluey, the Australian cartoon. Mm-hmm. Imagine the IP holders of Bluey selling it to an education software AI company that uses the Bluey algorithm to educate kids, so it's easier for kids to understand certain aspects of math or whatever, and they're able to outsource that that IP to use for educational purposes, and they get some kind of kickback to help them produce more episodes or something like that, and it's like limited or something.
I could see it being like used on like Wikipedia. If the AI just makes depictions of not using like real likenesses and stuff, but just like cartoons using like just kind of general shapes and easy colorings and all this kind of stuff. If a young person is going to go and look up an article on Lewis and Clark or something like that, the AI that they're using can use the article on Wikipedia or whatever the source is as the source and generate like, okay, here's a little animated version, or like you're saying, like helping to explain complex ideas in like math or science or something like that, like visually explaining things and using one concise place of information instead of being like, make something up.
Yeah. Like make something new, or like I want to see something new but familiar, right? I'd rather just be having it used for something like that has some kind of value to it,
I don't know. It's hard to like really gauge for me because a lot of that talk that they had at the beginning of this video was like just so media facing jargon.
Right.
We're building an environment that will enrich with multiple people interfacing and stuff. And it's like, what are your actual goals and what is this thing? And when the lady was talking about like, you can look down on a room and they'll have a grandma and a mom and a dad and a daughter and a son and maybe a grandchild. I'm like, okay, but what does that mean? Like, I get what the fuck you're saying, but it doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, so, it's like that funny running gag in Silicon Valley where it's like every tech startup is like, we're changing the world.
Yeah.
We're changing the world.
So it's an interesting idea. I mean, it just kind of combines a lot of especially for something like this with South Park, where it is this simple and it like easy to throw together, but it just is kind of like there it's not that interesting, honestly.
Yeah, there was no like laugh out loud, like that was a good joke kind of thing. It was just like, oh, that sounds familiar. That sounds like something Cartman or
Yeah, the
somebody would
writing
say.
was like, it's impressive to a degree that this can come together and be a final product. Like in and of itself, it's something to see, but then again, the writing is not extraordinary in any way. The animation itself is also just like very minimal. Like if there's a bar, they are just barely meeting it. But then any use beyond this is something completely different. If you can make your own script and have it not be South Park, but have it be something else where it's like, okay, we've come up with a visual style that you've described. Like you wanted cyberpunk with a lot of neon, maybe in like watercolors and something, and we've come up. It might not look very good, but we've come up with that based on, and then your script, and we voiced it with these AI voices. Maybe that's more impressive, but for now, this is just like turning out a very subpar episode of South Park.
Yeah, it reminds me a lot of like, what was that? 3D Movie Maker. You remember that?
Yeah, yeah.
Or like Simpsons Movie Maker, where it's like you put them in a scene, right? And you have these characters and they animate for a little bit. It's like you're just, this room looks way too big for them. Like look at this. They look like they shrunk. Mr. Garrison is like way shorter than that countertop.
Yeah, the video, I forget what part it was that we watched, but I think there was a part in the video that we watched, specifically that 10-minute bit, where they were like way too small for the proportions of the room. And when you really look at it for more than a second, it's like, oh yeah, that is clearly made by an AI, because it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, the framing, they have to work on like cinematography and like why are they zoomed in so close to Tom Cruise?
Yeah, why are we missing the upper half of his face and seeing most of his chest? Why are we so pushed in here?
Right. Yeah, I just wanted to show you guys that and react to it thoroughly, because I didn't watch a whole lot of it. I watched like maybe 3 minutes, and then I was like, okay, I'll save this.
If they show that the simulation, whatever this is, if they show that it can do, since we mentioned it before, like if they can apply this same kind of method or ethic to like the Spider-Man 90s animated series and churn out, something voiced, something roughly animated in that way, or gosh, I don't know, like the Smurfs or Speed Racer, like show me something different.
Yeah, I'd be interested in just seeing how this evolves. Really, I don't, like we said, I don't want it to be a replacement for actual creative people. I want to see this evolve into something that has some kind of substance to it, not just a, hey, look at this really neat thing we did with another IP, and talking about the dangers of deep faking and AI and AI and AI, right? It's all talking about AI.
Well, I don't think I think you're right that there will be studios that will want to take advantage of some use of AI, whether that's script writing or visually or whatever it is. But like as of right now, with everything amazing that AI can do and all the silly fun stuff that we do with it, there hasn't been anything where it has replaced what we've had, right?
Oh, yeah, way.
There's never been a day where the news comes on and they're like, as of now, Disney Plus or all these streaming sites get fucked because now there's an AI that can do it for you. Or, I mean, the most prevalent thing seems like it was when there was like a few months ago that I saw more news stories than I had ever seen of like, oh, people are using ChatGPT to like write papers for college or to touch up their resume, and just like widespread use of it.
Right.
But even that hasn't been like, oh, every single person has ChatGPT on their phone, because it is like so ubiquitous and so it works so well. It's just like still pretty niche, and everything that no matter how revolutionary they are, the image ones are a little different, but all the text based like chatbots really end up being kind of the same at the end of the day. So whatever. I don't. They'll try and use AI because it will save money because they don't have to pay somebody to do the work, but it won't turn out well, and it will probably just fizzle out. And it might be a tool that is used for like visual stuff in the future, but as far as replacing the jobs of writers and stuff, I obviously don't want that, but I don't see that ever being actually like a reality.
Sure. No, I get that too. I'm interested in the technology that makes this work. That's as far as I'll take it. And I like what it produces sometimes. I don't like how some of the times when you have some kind of image generation create something from another source, or it has somebody's like little signature or something like that, where you can't really. I don't think that's a ethical kind of venture.
But it comes down to the like intent of the person who's using it, right? Are they trying to slip it past people and be like, hey, this is there? Are you trying to pass it off, or are you being straight up and be like, hey, I made this with an AI. Look how accurate this is to the source that I fed it, but like clearly this is just something that was made. This is not.
Yeah, and I think that's something like that I'm interested in, that I won't like use it for monetary gain, or like I would try to make a movie poster based on two different movies and try to like combine them, right? So I'd put like, because that's been done, like that is a parody of, like, just think of Jaws, how many times that poster has been parodied in everything. So just
Star Wars, yeah, there's tons.
Doing your own twist on something for your own like wants. It's like I want a poster of something, right? I'm gonna have an AI generate me what I want, right? I'm gonna tell it like I want a poster that looks like this and has all these things incorporating into it, because I'd rather have an AI do that than like commission it out. Because if I'm just gonna hang it up in my wall, I'm not gonna like use it to sell or anything like that. I just want it as like a decoration. Like I'd use it for that purpose, just for my own interest. And
I think something like this, what we are looking at right now, to me seems more like, okay, in 50, 70 years, when we have little like floating eye robots that like project holograms and have like Jarvis like AI inside of them, they can just be like, oh, would you like to watch an episode of blank cartoon? And they can just, with using AI, like just make a episode of the Looney Tunes that has never existed before. With it's able to just recreate the visuals and make its own voices and stuff, and it's like, whoop, there you go, a little bit of entertainment. But that's yeah, just so.
Do you think we'll get to
fantastical
that point?
Almost? It's
yeah, like, well, think when we were kids. Did you ever like? We had that in our minds, like, hey, wouldn't that be cool if I could like talk to my friend and see him at the same time? Like that wasn't too far fetched, because there were people had come up with that idea. Stanley Kubrick came up with that idea in 2001. He's like, you call somebody on a payphone and then you get to see the person you're talking to.
Yeah.
But like, do you see that happening where we have actors that are willing to give up their likeness and their acting mannerisms? Like they do like a full, I don't know, day session of like how their body moves for a specific character, right? And then they basically just deep fake that character into a movie, and the actor doesn't have to be on set. And they, like, I can see that becoming a reality in the future.
Well, maybe I could, maybe that will be something that gets hashed out during these like negotiations and stuff, is exactly how use of people's likeness and AI technology and deepfake, etc., gets used. because I could see it being like there's just a point of like
And they have, just real quick, they have anything that has been created, or in some places, anything that has been created with AI, like directly just by with no input from other writers or things like that, where it's just created through AI, it is not worthy of copyright. So it's free reign. Anybody can do what they want. So it won't get anything. It's not a benefit to any corporation at all. So,
well, I mean, like in that example that I gave, in like decades later when we've got fantastical technology and they're maybe using this kind of thing that we're looking at here. God, Mr. Mackey's eyes.
Mr. Mackey's eyes. I saw that.
But like Mel Blanc, right? The voice of Bugs Bunny and all these other cartoon characters, he was never even around for any kind of discussion of use of his voice way, way, way after his death, right?
Yeah, it wasn't even. Yeah, it wasn't in the conversation at all.
So
You know.
they might just as well be like, well, he never signed anything. It's fair use. Like for us, for Warner Brothers, for us to say like, oh, for this future service, Zombie, where everybody watches everything, basically like it's all been conglomerated into one thing. Sure, use any of our legacy like actors that are dead. Use AI to recreate their voice, or like, for I don't know how it would, if they can have like realistic graphics or whatever, and they can
Right,
just
who are
make
those
an
people in
image
that
of a
picture? Real
person.
quick, like that was weird. No, but I get you. Like
But
that's
like, if you can just perfectly recreate Sir Alec Guinness, and you can watch the movie of Star Wars, but like, the AI version that never existed, and that's perfectly able to recreate the images of that, that seems like a different, I don't know. But then, yeah, it's just weird. It's just, there has to be some point where they're like, okay, this is what we can use and what we can't use, and people need to be aware of that, so that if you are hearing or seeing something, you might be aware that it's AI.
Yeah. And even like the green screen, I always thought that was cheap. Like I've always thought green screen is a cool tool. I mean, I like playing with it and making it, fun for my own purposes, but like I've always thought it looked cheap, or cheapened the world. Especially when I look back on like Star Wars, where it's Padme and Anakin going through the factory. Like it's just it's very off-putting, and I feel like it's a video game and not real, because their body proportions are way different, and the shadows aren't right, or just something off about it that I'm just so disconnected with. Where I think that it even is in the same area as AI and creating things through AI. What is that person back there?
His nose. Look at the eyes on the lady behind her.
And there's like... a drow.
His arms out to his sides like that. It's just weird.
We gas strong.
I don't want there's got to be a point where something can just like end, like used for fucking stupid creative purposes. Just like have fun with it, but don't be greedy corporations and be like, ooh, we can just lay people off and use one computer in the basement and just feed it little prompts and that'll do the jobs.
And I'd like to see somebody try that. I'm kind of on the fence of like, yeah, that's horrible and things like that. But then I'm also like, somebody please just take that leap to be the fall guy for this, because I want you to fail. Like I'm interested.
It's going to happen. Like, I don't know that we have had a movie in the past, like, let's say 5 years since AI has started to become really big. I don't know that we've had a movie where it's been explicitly released where it's like, this entire script was written by an AI. I think maybe people have opened up and said like, oh, we've had, little touch-ups, or visually we've used stuff, but we have yet to cross that threshold. And I think it's going to happen. I think somebody's going to take that step and be like, we made a whole script with AI, or we made a whole blank. Like, they're gonna do it.
Yeah,
They're
it'll
gonna be
get.
brave.
They gonna be doing it, dude.
stupid astronauts and launch themselves out into a place where nobody needs to be.
It doesn't surprise me when something else comes out. It's like, oh yeah, you can synthesize a voice. Oh yeah, you can just generate your own backgrounds. Oh yeah, you can just make this up yourself. You can deep
can make
fake
your
a
own-
character.
You
Whatever.
can make your own chef wizard Al Pacino.
Yeah. That stuff is fun for us to collaborate together and make it interesting. But like seeing things, nothing is going to surprise me until something really drastic happens where you can just deep fake an actor, drop him in like a Sims character into your own generated scene that's cinematography, lit perfectly for that character.
Mm-hmm.
And then you drop in these two characters and they act as if the actors would act in an actual movie. Until then, I'm not going to be surprised by anything AI throws in my face.
Right.
I guess I do have one last thing to say. Go Jan, go Jan, go Jan.
Go, Jan.